The Wheel of Time, Episode 3. Discussion and review. All right, Tyler, Episode 3 of The Wheel of Time. I'm going to start by reading the summary again. Are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, Episode 3 is titled A Place of Safety. Nynaeve escapes and outsmarts and kills the Trolloc that captured her. We're going to talk about that scene. The Two Rivers villagers are separated from Moiraine and each other, with Mat and Rand trekking across the wilderness in one direction, Egwene and Perrin in another, and Lan and an injured Moiraine are confronted by an angry Nynaeve, demanding to know the location of the villagers. Wolves follow Egwene and Perrin has a nightmare about the wolves and a mysterious, fiery-eyed figure. They find safety and rest with the Tinkers, a peaceful nomadic group. We're going to talk about them too. Mat and Rand argue about whether to go home or to the White Tower, with Mat showing darker tendencies that Rand dislikes. They encounter a gleeman, finally, Thom Merrilin, in a village where he steals their gold. Later, Thom rescues them from a Darkfriend. Thom's great. Nynaeve and Lan argue about the villagers and whether Nynaeve should heal Moiraine. Eventually, Nynaeve concedes, using herbs to help the Aes Sedai while Lan scouts. Moiraine recovers enough to travel, and they encounter the Red Sisters on the road, including Liandrin, that bitch, who have
Red
captured
Woman.
the
Another Game of Thrones thing.
Proclaimed Dragon Reborn, Logain Ablar, a man who can channel the one power.
Great little ending scene, though. Love that ending segment when they show Logain. I thought that actually looked pretty cool. Got me excited for the next episode. What is he all about? What's his business? But first, Justin,
what's that guy's deal?
Let's start with the Nynaeve thing. So there's just a Trolloc just ragdolling her at the start of the episode. Yes. And you're like, oh man, she's done for. Like this is no good.
This is no good.
But then that Trolloc is like, he just like decides to eat his buddy. Like he just up and decides to eat his buddy. Like, you know, sure. Have I randomly decided to eat the entrails of my friend while I was about to kill and rape another? Yeah, sure.
You're human.
But
like,
I'm human. But like, these are animals driven by the Dark Lord. They have a mission to accomplish, and you'd think they'd be more singularly focused and not distracted by such frivolity. But that's me. I don't know. What did you think about it, Justin?
Such frivolity. Yes. So Nynaeve manages to escape in one of those, so the movie or the show can happen type of coincidences. But here's why I hate
that's
this
just an everyday
scene.
Coincidence that happens.
Everyday coincidence. Now, here's why I hate this scene. Specifically, I hate the way it's edited. And this is not the only time this happens in this episode. What I'm about to talk about now also happens when Perrin and Egwene are being chased by the wolves. So here we go. Nynaeve is running from the Trolloc. She's running down the road. The Trolloc turns a corner and sees her. Obviously, the Trolloc is much faster than Nynaeve. Okay?
Yeah.
The Trolloc is running full speed after her to the point where it looks like he's about to catch her any second. Okay? Yep. And then it cuts to her all of a sudden being in that cave where this little hot tub pond is.
I'm going to say I call it a grotto.
Grotto. I love it. In the little grotto. I don't know what it's actually called. I don't remember, but
doesn't matter. It's a grotto. There's a little hot tub in there. Yep.
Okay. So the hot tub in the grotto, we find. And all of a sudden she like runs in the grotto. The Trolloc is nowhere behind. I mean, again, it looked like the Trolloc was about to tackle her the way they edited that. So then she's able to not only get in there, take some time, decide to hide in the hot tub in the grotto, that she like is able to get in the water, sink all the way down and into the point where there are no ripples in the water. The water has totally stilled.
And like, I wouldn't be putting my head in hot tub water. I don't know about you, but like
that's dangerous. Like people do crazy shit in hot tubs, and so
I
mean, I guess when you're facing death.
Still,
maybe
if you knew the things I did in hot tubs, you wouldn't be dunking your head.
You're still basically talking about death by herpes.
So, exactly. You're dead one way or the other.
It's gonna be
I'd
more
take
painful.
my chance with the Trollocs.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, like, think about the way they cut that and edited that, where she's like running down, the Trolloc comes running like at double speed. It looks like he's about to get her. Then she goes in the grotto and apparently has like 2 minutes to hide. And she walks in, walks around, gets in the water, goes all the way down. She
like puts a lampshade over her head. She's like, no, that won't work. She's like trying different hiding places. She's like, fuck it, I'll try the hot tub.
She's holding a rock up over her face.
Right. But goes behind the curtain, but finally she decides the hot tub. Okay.
And after all that, then, and again, you can see how the hot tub in the grotto looks. And so she's in there, and then she pulls her head up while the Trolloc is like literally a foot from her, walking around. And it's like, because her head is here, and the edge of the rock is here, and the Trolloc is here, the Trolloc can't see her on the angle. Okay? But the Trolloc can't see her. And then the Trolloc jumps in. And again, this is not a big hot tub. It's like 6 feet by 6 feet.
Yeah.
Somehow he doesn't kick her, touch her. She doesn't freak out. She doesn't make a noise. And then he starts stabbing random parts of this tiny little hot tub.
You're right.
But he missed her, and she jumps up behind him and stabs him to death. And that's it.
The wheel works in mysterious ways, Justin. The wheel works in mysterious ways. I want to know, how does this Trolloc know that wasn't a well for water?
That he was going to fall down? See, now when we were doing the episode 2 review, and you were like, "Oh, okay. So how do Trollocs know? They just know the depth, because the water was not clear. The water in that grotto hot tub was not clear.
Well, of course it wasn't clear because it was a hot tub. What is happening in that hot tub? Of course the water's not clear. The effluvia that has been discharged in that hot tub.
Don't say words like discharge. I won't.
You won't nix me on effluvia.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna bleep out curse words, but I'm gonna bleep discharge.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
Okay. So yes. So no, the Trolloc can't see the bottom of the hot tub because of the discharges.
Right. So I don't know. Didn't make any sense. But whatever. She escapes. And then she's back with Lan. Then we move to Nynaeve. Now she's fixing up Moiraine, and apparently she sees this gaping wound on Nynaeve's chest because Lan is incompetent at his job because he lied on his resume.
Yes.
And she's just like, I'll smash up some berries or something and put it on her. And like, what, man? Like, come on. Like, we don't have any, even in today's modern technology, any like topical ointment we were going to put on that shit that was going to fix it. Like,
we'd be like, oh shit, you need to go see a surgeon.
Right. Like, you need to be rushed to surgery. We're going to be doing blood transfusions. Like, you're in some deep shit. She's like, no, like, I'll grind up a eucalyptus leaf and she'll be fine. Like, come on now.
that was a fantastic Nynaeve impression.
Thank you.
She'll be fine. That's exactly how Nynaeve is.
Countless hours I've been in front of a mirror, just like practicing my mannerisms.
Well, it's very good.
Thank you. I was hoping it showed. Yep. But so anyway, so we have that. Then we jump to Perrin has another bad dream, right? Little jump scare with the man with the fire in his eyes.
Yep.
And I think looks worse this time. Looked better when they kept him a little more in the shadows, the first dream segments. This one, they really showed him, and he wasn't that scary. And
again, he looked like a fiery pumpkin to me. He does not look scary to me.
And to your point, should have been more pumpkin-y, not pumpkin enough. But like, I just thought, like, you should be making that more mysterious. There should just kind of be like a figure there that you can't make out that is leading to mystery on who is that, what is that. Instead, you're just like putting this kind of like CG'd fire eye pumpkin face on the front of the screen. He kind of
looked like a fiery scarecrow.
Yeah, kind of like a fiery scarecrow, only not as scary.
Scarecrows. Yeah,
Scarecrow
from Batman was way scarier.
I stopped eating crops when my farmer neighbor put a scarecrow out.
You were like, I don't want anything to do with whatever that is. And no more crops for me. Honey, you're going to have to go to the grocery store.
I used to get my fill on his farm every day. Not when he put that scarecrow anymore. Scarecrows are way scarier. Scarecrow in Batman, when he has his little briefcase
very
and he
scary.
does that noxious gas, and then the way they should. He was way scarier than this scarecrow-looking dude. Yeah. I was not impressed whatsoever. Their little jump scare tactic did not work on me. I barely cried after it. So I would say, nope, not impressed whatsoever. But then, Justin, we get to what is great moments in the books, which is moments with Thom Merrilin. In the book, the Gleeman is the man. Everybody loves the Gleeman, Thom Merrilin. We meet him for the first time. What'd you think?
Thom Merrilin was great in the books, and he was fine in the show. Fine in the show. A little different. They changed him up a little bit from what I remember as far as like what he was doing, and like he was like singing and
where's his patches? Aren't gleemen supposed to juggle and shit? Why was he pulling scarves out of his mouth?
More entertainers, more like jester types, and they just kind of made him more like he sang a song, and I was like, okay,
right. And even he just kind of had this growl about him, and that is not how I pictured Thom Merrilin at all.
I still like the casting. I like the actor. I still thought, again, I'm trying to like put these people in like, okay, they're doing what they were asked to do by the writers. And
I hate him. He is dead to me.
Did he give a good performance for what he was asked to do? And it's like, I kind of like him. I like his interactions with Matt. And
I guess if the writers brought him in and they were like, your job is to butcher the role of Thom Merrilin
character
from the books and how he's portrayed. I want you to act nothing like him. I don't want you to look anything like him. I want you to be totally different. And you're right. He nailed it. And so that's not his fault. But then my question is, why were they asking him to do everything so different from how he was in the books? He didn't juggle a single time, Justin.
That's
Did you
what
see him juggle?
These writers do. Again, it seems like we're shitting on the show, and we are because we don't like it.
Because we care. Because we care so deeply.
But it's true. I think if you didn't read the books, you'd be far more likely to watch this and like it and enjoy it. And it's almost, I mean, I think that's true. Like, I know we're joking a lot, but I think it's true. I think when you read the books, you're like, okay, it's an adaptation. They're going to make changes. I have to understand that. But so early on, again, that's how shows are successful, is because they adapt it so closely early on, and then they stray when they have to. And this show just immediately was like, we are changing this and this character and their backgrounds and this motivation and that motivation. We're eliminating this character. This character is totally different. By the way, the dragon, not a man. It could be a woman or maybe multiple people. And I'll tell you what, if the dragon
is not a dragon.
If the dragon is not a man, and we'll avoid spoilers for anybody who hasn't read the books, who doesn't know, who the dragon is pretty early on in the books. I think by the end of the first book, you know who the dragon is. And so
it's one of the Trollocs we already saw.
It's random Trolloc who was killed by Nynaeve. And now I don't know what
Trolloc
to do.
number 3.
Trolloc number 3, who was killed by Nynaeve. What are they going to do now?
What are the writers doing? Like,
I don't know. But just that many changes, I feel like it's just going to cascade into the point where this show is going to be borderline unrecognizable. It's going to be, I heard somebody did an interview with Brandon Sanderson already, and they were talking about all the changes. And
what did he say about that?
Well, Brandon Sanderson, knows these people. He wrote the last few books in the series,
right?
And he doesn't really like to ruffle feathers. And so
he doesn't seem like the type that would honestly be really honest about that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, he would not, and he is not. And do you know who Shadiversity is?
Shadiversity?
Yeah, he's the guy who does like all the ancient weapon videos. Sometimes you stumble across him just by like watching Brandon Sanderson videos or something else.
Sure. Okay, no, yeah.
And so he's a guy who will he actually consulted. Brandon Sanderson consults with this guy on like medieval weapons when he writes old school books.
Okay, yeah.
And so this guy knows Brandon Sanderson, has consulted on his books. He consulted on Rhythm of War, Stormlight Archive, yada. So I've watched him, and he was talking about Brandon Sanderson, how he did an interview about this and about his reaction. And he was just kind of like, I view the adaptation show as just another turning of the wheel. Like it's not the book series to Brandon Sanderson. It's another turning of the wheel. It's a different version.
Level dodge. Well done.
Yeah. And so, and I was like, and everyone else was like, even Shad's like, I love Brandon. I get that he doesn't want to ruffle feathers. He probably gave people notes and they chose not to do the things he suggested. And he's like, but that's bullshit. This story is adapted from this turning of the wheel. That's what this is.
Yeah, and because another turning of the wheel would be a different book series that has
characters.
Similar, that has recurring
Luce Theron
themes.
was not the same as the current dragon. Totally different name, totally different person.
Right. It's supposed to be, it's about, we want to get into, again, no spoilers and stuff. But anyway, that's nonsense. That's him playing politics, not wanting to ruffle feathers. Whatever, I understand it. He honestly seems like the type of guy that would do that. And we are too. And that's why we have really pulled our punches throughout these first 3 episodes And like, I feel like we've really tried to be nice and, very, very careful about how we tread on this show because we don't want to ruffle feathers in the industry either. I mean, we're both have a few screenplays that are being adapted right now as well. Right. I believe, Justin, you have your screenplay, The Dawn, that's about a mafia boss who has sex change and has to navigate that in this modern environment. And I know that Universal
that wasn't bad.
Interested.
You seemed lost for a long time.
Universal's interested.
Miramax has showed interest.
Miramax is interested. Yep. Fox said no.
It's not really the kind of thing Fox would.
They don't want it.
They don't
but so anyway, so we met the Gleeman. Then Matt and Rand they go into an inn, right? They need to find a place to stay. They talk to the innkeep. Was it Dana?
I think it's Dana.
So they talk to Dana, and Matt and Rand agree to split wood. But let me tell you, that's not the only thing the innkeep wants them to split.
Whoa!
Right? Because she clearly wants them to split her like a coconut.
Yeah.
No, I meant, I know, Justin, I was talking about something else that is sexual in nature.
Don't understand the reference.
Justin, when a man and a woman have drinks in a bar,
that's probably the most accurate setup. When they have too much to drink at a bar and they're both very lonely.
Right, and they're both very lonely. They like to do things together.
Sometimes they split wood together.
They like to split wood. Somebody gets split. But what happens, Justin? Matt ends up getting really bitchy about splitting wood. Him and Rand have a little tiff. They fight. Mm-hmm. So Matt ends up, he goes and he waits tables, right? But then like the tips he's getting are honestly, they're pretty sparse. But I would say that's because he wasn't showing any skin at all. No, Justin, we've both worked in bars our whole lives, right? Back in the day, family owned a bar. That's where we lived and breathed. You got to show some skin, right? Like Absolutely. For me, if I'm not having this button if I'm waiting tables. Do you know what I mean? No. That baby's getting popped. I'm Hasselhoff. Boom. And I got to tell you, that's exactly just right there. Dollar bills would be thrown. I'd be getting like underwear hitting my face, flowers and stuff. I'd be catching my teeth just from doing that. You have to show skin if you're going to wait tables. Everybody knows this. He's clothed up to his neck. Like, what is he doing?
That's stupid. And that's why when I waited tables, I would never work out. Not because I don't want to or because it's not healthy. It's because as a man, I needed to put on the extra weight. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes it manifests itself up top. And then I got a little more to play with. This is a Wheel of Time review, by the way.
What do you mean? You think this wasn't clear from what we were talking about? So anyway, he's waiting tables.
If someone just clicked onto this video right now, and they were like,
"I was thinking the same thing." That's what they would be thinking. They're like, "Finally,
I worked in a bar, and these guys are right."
Right? They get it. Like, finally, an outlet to what I've been thinking this entire time while watching this show. Okay. So that happens. He's waiting tables, yada yada. Then I think Egwene and Perrin, we cut to them. They have a Goodwill Hunting moment.
They do. Now I need to talk about why I hate this.
Yes,
why I hate this scene. Now, of course, we find out that Egwene can channel in this moment because she lights the fire for Perrin. Okay, so we get a little hint there that Egwene can channel. But here's what I hate about editing. This is the type of thing, just like we talked about with Nynaeve and the Trolloc Seed, is the wolf chase editing. Oh yeah, my God. It is Game of Thrones, the Battle at Winterfell level. This all comes back to Game of Thrones season 8, always, where Tyler, we're talking
directed by who? Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher. Oh my God! Who directed Beverly Hills Cop, and so Beverly Hills Ninja.
That's a totally different movie.
And so,
Beverly Hills Ninja, Justin.
Beverly Hills Ninja. And so, you get to a scene where Jaime Lannister and Brienne are backed into a corner and there's 1,000 whites behind them and they're battling and the camera cuts away and then it cuts back and they're fine and there's like 2 whites in front of them. Or Sam gets pinned down and he's got a whole bunch of whites on him. You assume they just would stab and kill him immediately. And Jon walks by him and he makes that decision. in that moment to leave Sam behind, to try to go kill the Night King. He makes the sacrifice of his best friend. We cut back. Oh no, Sam's fine.
Sam was fine.
He got away. And so in this scene, multiple times, if go back and rewatch the scene, anyone, whether you haven't watched it yet or whether you're going to watch it, go back and rewatch the scene where the wolves are chasing Perrin and Egwene. On multiple occasions, the camera shows the wolves getting within 4 or 5 feet of them, to the point where like they're showing overhead views where like they're running and the wolves come through the trees and they're about to tackle them. And then it cuts to like a different view of them running up a hill, and the wolves are like 50 feet behind them.
Right.
And it happens repeatedly in that scene. Quick cuts. The wolves are right next to them. The wolves are way away from them. All the wolves, roof. Chaotic camera work, right? And, and then you cut ahead.
The wolves are barking like dogs. It's chaos.
The wolves are barking like dogs. They're 2 feet behind them. You cut away. They're 20 feet behind them. They're 50 feet behind them. And all of a sudden they're out in the open and the wolves are gone. And it's like, that is horrendous editing. It's so frustrating when you see that. I laugh out loud when I see stuff like that. I don't know how they let that get out.
Well, I'll just tell you this, Justin. It's not your fault.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not your fault, Justin.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
What are you doing, man?
It's not your fault, Justin.
What are you doing, man?
It's not your fault. It's not your fault, man.
But it's so stupid.
So anyway, Egwene and Perrin have that whole Goodwill Hunting. Great moment, by the way, that I felt like we acted perfectly.
That was really good. One of Matt Damon's greatest roles, of course, that scene was from Dogma.
Yeah. And Robin Williams won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for that role, I'll have you know.
And he deserved it, by the way.
He did. He was tremendous in that. Honestly, to me, probably my favorite role behind Flubber. And then the next thing that happens, Justin, then Egwene and Perrin run into a hippie commune. And I thought this was really interesting. Where like they grow their own vegetables and stuff and they don't shower or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's free love.
But you know what they do is when you try to take one of their own, and by their own, of course, I mean 2 people that you don't know very well that you just met very recently, you'll lock arms and protest.
Right. So we have that whole side quest. What happens then? We circle back. Thom Merrilin it unveils an Aiel corpse. Is that how do you pronounce it?
An Aiel. An Aiel.
That's right. An Aiel corpse. So the first real hint at he points out the hair and how they look different. Don't see him in these parts. Hint, wink, wink. That's what Rand looks like. Now, this is something that typically in the book, you were getting this early on. So this is something we didn't talk about with episode 1.
They are really already hinting heavily at a certain character being the dragon in the book.
Yeah, so like in the book, right from the get-go, you're talking about how like Rand looks different than everyone at Edmondsfield. He's like way taller. He's got the orange hair. He looks way different. He doesn't look anything like his dad. And then another thing they don't show you in that first episode was when Tam gets injured, his dad gets injured, Rand has to like bring him to safety in the books. And Tam is kind of like incoherent out of it.
They have a conversation in the woods while he's bringing him back. Yeah.
While he's bringing him back, while he's like out of it, right? He's like feverish and like losing it. And he's talking about finding this young boy in this different land who looked different that he raised as his own. Yeah. It's obviously talking about Rand. It's meant to be very clear. Rand is not his actual son. Right, that's what they portray right from the get-go in the books. It's very clear. Yes. Rand is not from here. He looks different. He everything about his appearance is different. Looks nothing like his father. And then his father, right after he gets injured from the Trollocs, even is just telling Rand, "Yeah, you're not my actual son, but I raised you like my own son." But in the show, this is the first hint we are getting that Rand is not from Edmondsfield. Right, that's not.
But it's a very subtle hint that non-book readers would almost surely not put together.
Right, But if you're a non-book reader watching this show, you're welcome. Now you know.
We basically just spoiled it.
Spoiler alert, Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. So you're going to find that out. I'm sorry, folks. Deal with it. Next point, Justin. Now, here's another, and this has happened. I want you to think about this. I want you to really soak this in.
Really think about this.
Every episode, I've talked about something that Rand has done where there has been a woman who has wanted to be intimate with him, and he continues to push them away. And it's very strange, and it doesn't make any sense, even in those moments. Now, again, here, Rand has been running for his life. He's traveling. He's alone. He's hungry. He's tired. He's ostensibly horny, right? Dana, right? This innkeep just gave him a place to stay, and she's like, and nobody can hear anything in this room. And I'm thinking, like, oh yeah, no one's gonna hear those screams. Am I right? Like, she's laying it on thick again. It's not just the wood that wanted to be split, right? As we mentioned earlier, she's laying down all just laying it on thick. She goes in for the kiss, and he pushes her away. Like, who in their right mind is doing that at that point?
Rand's an honorable man, and he loves
honorable
Egwene.
To whom and to what
Egwene,
in this
he
circumstance?
He loves Egwene.
Oh my God, they have no official relationship. She's going off to do her own thing. She's probably getting gangbanged by multiple dudes at this point. He doesn't know.
Probably.
And this innkeep is throwing herself. This is now, they don't have phones and social media. Nobody's going to know if he bangs some random innkeep. You know what I mean? Like, it's time for him to lay some pipe. Right. And he doesn't, he pushes her away, but he gets lucky this time because it turns out, Justin, she's a fucking double agent, this bitch.
She's a Darkfriend. She's our first real Darkfriend. Yeah.
And so now this is also, to my recollection, not how it happened. I don't think the innkeep in the book was a Darkfriend, if I recall correctly.
I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember.
But what I think this whole scene was meant to do is portray it, of course, in the book, right? Rand and
has a
Matt,
tiny dick, and he's scared to have sex,
and that's no good. And so he won't show it to anyone other than Egwene. She's the only one who's ever seen it, and she's okay with it. She's okay. Anyways,
she likes micro penises.
She likes micro penises.
Some people do.
That always reminds me of New Girl, the episode of New Girl with the one
absolutely
guy.
With the one guy. What's his name? He kind of reminds me of John Cena, because they both have micro penises. Actually, John Cena seems like a lovely guy, and actually, we're having him on the show next week.
Yes,
so John, we love you.
John,
just joking, buddy. I bet
can't wait to have John Cena on next week
totally
to talk about the Wheel of
Maybe
Time.
it's above average. I don't know. I barely caught a glimpse of it that one time we hung out at his house. I only saw, you know what I mean? Like, I saw the silhouette, so it's tough to judge what.
But still, you know. But you know,
in proportion to the rest of his body, I'd say it was. What he lacked in length, he made up for in girth.
Okay, good for him.
Here's my take on John Cena's penis.
It's essentially looks like a can of corn.
And it's just as creamy, baby. And so, Justin...
That's getting edited out. But the whole thing I was saying before that tangent was that the scene with Dana in, was it Breen's Field Tavern, something, is that... Matt and Rand went on many of these little stops, right? They stopped at many towns,
they were
many
doing lots
things
of innkeeps,
over the course of their journeys. And they were getting betrayed left and right by innkeepers, by people in the inn, by people who saw them. So I think rather than, of course, the show just showing the same thing over and over and over and over and over, they just tried to have one dramatic scene of where, like, they stayed at some random place and there happened to be a Darkfriend who knew or sensed or whatever who they were and tried to kill them. And now they have to live. They have to be careful no matter where they go.
And then they break out into a chase scene. So Rand, throws his shoulder into the door, takes out this door that nobody could possibly knock over. Rand does. You know why? Because he's the dragon, of course. That must be. He's strong enough to knock down. He's strong enough to knock down really strong doors. He must be the dragon. She was shocked by it.
Let me ask you right there. Do you think Rand channeled when he knocked down the door?
Do I think he channeled?
when
I think he used his momentum appropriately and just got his weight behind it. I think that's what happened. That did not look like a door that was secured by steel, if I'm being honest.
Well, but they purposefully try to have her say like that door is whatever double reinforced, whatever she says.
Yeah, she was lied to by the contractor on that.
Break it. Now, to me, that even just seemed like a weird scene. She's like standing there like with a sword, and he's just like
watching him do it.
And he's like, ah, and he's like bashes into it, and she's like, okay, what are you doing? And he's like, ah, and just like bashes into the door. I just felt like it was a weird scene. Like
it was weird.
Make him stop, but then there was like a kind of a little flash of air or power or something when he hits the door, and I'm like,
he must have.
I feel like he used the one power for the first time that I think we've seen on the show, just a slight little tiny bit.
I think it was just a shoddily made door.
In order to knock that door over.
And then, Justin, so he knocks over this door, and then there's a chase scene, and Dana, the innkeep, is full on just trucking after him. And I mean, it reminded me of, in Terminator 2, the one guy's like the melted steel Terminator.
He's the T-1000.
The T-1000. And he's just like chasing after her. That's how she looked while she was running. And like, I was expecting her hands to just like turn into blades.
Turn into claws. Right, and she's going to start like,
and I was like, oh shit, he traveled back all the way in time to like medieval times so he could fucking kill the dragon. That was his whole thing. Turned out she was just running like that. But then oh shit.
Everything's fine.
Oh, everything's fine. False alarm here. We're all fine, folks.
I've done this twice. I did it earlier with my headset.
So then, Justin, she's running, but then, she just kind of stops him and just starts talking to him. And then she gets jacked with a blade through the throat, just like the mom in Terminator. Remember the mom who's talking and she's like drinking the milk, and then the T1. Oh no, it's the dad. It's the dad. But the mom doesn't.
No. It's the security guard who's getting a cup of coffee, and then he gets the jacks, like the full house, and he's like, "Must be my lucky day." And he turns around and he points right through his eyeball. Is that what you're talking about?
that happens too. But there's another scene earlier on than that scene where he's imitated John Connor's mom. And that's where he's like on the phone, he's talking to his mom, and Terminator's like, what's the dog's name? And he's like, I don't know, Sparky or some stuff. And then the Terminator imitates John Connor's mom, and he's like, Mom, how's Woofy? And then she's like, Woofy's fine, dear. And he goes, your foster parents are dead, right? Because she's lying about the dog. And so then she hangs up the phone, and the dad is still talking, and she goes whoosh, like that, and like off screen, just like my arm is. And then it cuts over to him, and the blade is like through a milk carton, and then like through his head, right? He barely is alive because it's through his brain. No, he's dead. He died. He's gone. But it's just like that scene with Egwene. So it was weird because they had the Egwene running scene, like in Terminator 2, but she had the death scene, like in Terminator 2. And I found out
this is still going.
and so get this, Justin, listen to this. So I found out that Ashton Kutcher was a production assistant on the show and on Terminator 2 as well. And he's the one who called for those changes to be made. Can you believe that, Justin?
I can believe that. I can believe that Ashton Kutcher is responsible for that.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Well,
unbelievable.
You heard it here first, folks. That's all I have to say about this.
And really, for episode 3, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think Lan and Moiraine run into Liandrin at the end.
The Red Woman. Another Game of Thrones reference.
Another Game of Thrones reference. Yep. And by the way, that woman who plays Liandrin, I can't tell if I like her or if I think she's the worst. Not just as a character, but like if I just hate her character or if I actually enjoy her character.
Or if you actually despise her as a human being. Like you don't like, know.
Right. As a person, am I just like, I want to hit that woman in the face and I don't know.
Yeah, but you probably shouldn't. You do have domestic abuse charges on your record. Let's just keep the woman hitting just down just for a bit. You know what I mean? Like just spread it out a little bit.
Tyler, you can't ask a bird not to fly.
You know what, Justin?
You're right.
You're right. And with that, There's season 3, episode 3. I keep saying season. We're not there yet.
And with that, right. That's it. That's episode 3 of The Wheel of Time. We'll be back with episode 4 soon. See ya. There we go. That's our cut. Everybody who's watching live. I got to pick my mouse up. I knocked it on the floor. So I've ripped my headset off. God. And had it go flying. I've knocked my mic over. I've set my mouse flying. Obviously, that's because of how good the show is. And now, Tyler, I got to be honest with you here. I need to know, have you seen more episodes, right? So these are, for everybody who's watching live, we were kind of we're going to clip the reviews into separate videos, but now we're just hanging out live. So have you seen more than the first 3 episodes?
No, I've only seen the first 3.
Okay. So yep. I don't want to spoil anything then.
No spoilers, because you know us, we don't like to spoil. And so I'm going to watch.
We're like, Tyler's like, we don't like to spoil. The dragon is Rand, by the way.
Oh, come on. He knocked down a door, Justin.
He knocked down a door. What more evidence do you need?
Are you shitting me? He couldn't have knocked down that door. She said it. She's
Rand al'Thor is the
She's
dragon.
like, that door has super strong hinges. Only, fucking 3 guys could knock down that door. And you know what? He did it. And I'm like, that's the dragon. I mean, clearly. So
I think the chat is being trolled, Templar. Like, we keep getting these weird people in there that just say things like Vask Tech or Void. And it's like, they're not even links.
Oh, that's me. That's
like,
me.
what are people doing, like, getting in here with those types? I don't understand. It's like an infomer show.
Let's see. Like, where are these at? Oh, yeah, from like Marcia George.
Marcia George and Olivia Carroll and Susan, but they all just say Vork Tech something, Tech Voya. I don't know.
Susan
Trash.
Trash. Susan Stokes is clearly a fake name or the best name I've ever heard.
Oh,
but,
man.
Whatever. I felt like we were even-handed in our treatment of these episodes.
We were not even-handed.
Yes, we were. I thought we used kid gloves. We were gentle, and I thought, we were objective. I thought sometimes, sure, could we be a little harsh? But then I always thought we softened that, almost like a compliment sandwich. I really thought we couldn't have done a better job in just giving someone kind of just a brief overview, introduction into what these episodes were like. I honestly think we knocked it out of the ballpark.
Well, I think the videos were good. I think we got lots of funny clips in there, and I think they'll be good, right? And so we'll post those and see how
I was
do.
dead serious the whole time.
Yeah, no, I know you were.
Straight to DVD, Templars. They're making DVDs of this shit. We've made it. Oh my gosh, we've made it big.
It's not as easy for me to bring the chat comments up now because I don't have a mouse because I knocked it over there on the ground. It may have broken.
You broke your mouse?
No, well.
Oh my gosh.
No, it looks like it's in one. It looks like it's in one piece. So
yeah, we were really. I felt like man, we got the chat up here too.
The wheel of time is straight to DVD. Okay, okay. So again, trying to be totally fair now. Trying to be totally
as
fair
we
now.
were throughout this entire time.
As you were throughout.
Continuing to be fair.
Look, it's not horrendous. It's not the worst. I've actually heard a lot of people that really like it. It's the #1 show in the world right now for a reason. It's just when you read a book, and that's the thing, is when you read a book, you have an expectation. And when right away a writer changes things, and sometimes they change things for no reason, right? And again, Tyler and I think would both agree, not to get seriously into the stuff, when you're talking about representation for like race and ethnicity or homosexuality and gay people, and it's like, we don't really care if anybody has changed that way, as long as it doesn't mess up the story.
It's the story, man.
It's the story that matters.
The story is what everybody should be serving.
Yes,
and as long as the story is served. But what happens is when they want to change superfluous stuff, like, who cares, right?
Yeah,
whatever.
Who cares?
But what happens is when they change things that are integral to the story,
where they say from the beginning that the
flabbergasting.
Dragon could be male or female, or even multiple people. It's like, not only is that
intrinsic, that's like
that's the very heart of the story.
Right, that's flabbergasting.
The dragon is a male, and the dragon has to be a male
Right.
Because the dragon is so powerful that they tap into the part of the one power that is tainted, which is why they're so dangerous, because they could either save or destroy the world because of how powerful they are, but they're going to go insane in doing it. And so for it to be a woman makes no sense. And if you're worried about just like, oh, well, the woman could be the one because it's it's a gender equality thing. It's like, women rule this world already. Like, they already use the one power. They're the Aes Sedai. They control everything. The Merrilin seat. Women are, even in the books now, like, we haven't even talked about this yet because you're not far enough in the show, but like, Caemlyn is cut out the entire journey, which is a huge part of the book.
That's a huge part of the book.
Caemlyn is totally cut out. Wow. The queen that rules Caemlyn, like, women rule other areas in the world too. And like, but boy, to me, this show has really seems to be like, it is women, and everything. And like men, the men who are tough, like Lan, is made to be softer and not as tough or stoic. And now the dragon isn't a man. The dragon could be a woman. And maybe the dragon won't be a woman.
Well,
but my thing is, they didn't just say man or woman. They said, or it could be split into multiple people. And so now
which that doesn't make any sense.
So now, but now my theory, my thought is that the showrunners may try to make the dragon be the Emmons Fielders together. Like, it may be Rand and Perrin and Matt and Egwene and Nynaeve. Like, they may be the dragon together. Like, I think that's what the show might do, to try to be like, men and women together have to work together to save the world. Like, I think that's what they might, because why even do that? Why even say that?
Right.
If the dragon is just going to be a man as it is in the books, because you're almost teasing, right? If you have female readers who are like, or watchers who are like, oh, the dragon could be a woman in the show, that's awesome. And then you're just like, oh no, it's the same characters in the books. You'd be like, oh, well, why did you even fucking tease us? Do you know what I'm saying?
But like, why do that in the first, like, so write a different story. But like, this story has been written, and there's a reason so many people love it. And again, if you're, there's no reason to be concerned about some sort of gender dynamics between men and women here. Because like, even if you think a man is going to become this super powerful character, okay, but women have all the power in this world. And at the time when these books were being written, again, that was kind of a novel, interesting concept that was great. And, Jordan had tons of respect for his wife, who even helped him write the books. And he always got tons of inspiration from her and for personality traits and stuff like that. And it's part of the reason why he wanted to do that, to have the women be in charge and have control. So it's like, that's all part of the book, is like the women kind of have control of everything, right? But then there's like this one guy that's going to have some power. Like, why change it? It just doesn't make any sense to change it. I don't understand. And again, if you want to write a different story, then write a different story. Don't change the one that's been written. Again, changing superfluous stuff, who cares? Changing certain things because you have to change certain things to adapt it.
As the story branches out, it's 14 books. It's going to be 8
Very
seasons,
difficult.
8 episodes, 64 episodes. Like, again, but I still wonder why. Like, why would this show not be 10 or 12 episodes, an hour long per season, per book? And why not try to make this go on for 10 or 12 seasons?
And why cut?
Because Game of Thrones, like, they cut Game of Thrones off early when it was its most popular.
Yeah,
like,
insane.
It's not like a show that had died and lost interest. It's like it was at its most fever pitch popular. People were talking about it every day, all day. It's like they easily could have let that show, at a minimum, gone 10 seasons, and it could have been 10 full episodes each season. So season 7, 8, which were like 7 and 6 episodes, could have been 10 and 10, and they could have gone 10 and 9 and 10 and 10. And that would have given them so much more story to really flesh things out. People would have loved it. It would have gone on 2, 3, 4 more years. It'd be ending now or like next year, and it would still be hyped. And now, like, people are just so bummed because they just rushed it. They ended it horribly. And like, now, like, no one gives a shit about the House of Dragon or any of these other prequels. Like, they all were canceled. And to be honest, like, I don't really care about the House of the Dragon at all. I would much rather have 2 more great seasons of Game of Thrones. That's what I would want.
Yeah, D&D just they killed Game of Thrones for me, man. They just murdered it. It's just too bad. It's too bad. It really sucks because that show was about as good as a show could have been.
Especially for
early
for like
seasons.
fantasy and sci-fi.
That's what I
type
mean. Like
people. Yeah.
about as good as it could have been, and they just absolutely fucking butchered.
Those stupid
Again,
bitches.
this is a Wheel of Time episode. Why are we still talking about Game of Thrones?
Well,
need to
because
let
we
it
always end
go.
up talking about Game of Thrones.
I know it's just what we
We're
do.
trying to compare it, and again, to me, it just seems the Wheel of Time in general. Love the books. I'm going to keep reading the books. I'm going to read all the books. Again, we've listened to them, we've read them, and there's a reason we love them. They're sort of like the more advanced version of the the Lord of the Rings. That's like what they are. That's what Jordan based it off of. It was like a bigger, broader, more epic fantasy. And then Brandon Sanderson, now who has done the Stormlight Archive and the Mistborn series, Robert Jordan was one of his heroes. Brandon Sanderson finished the last, is it 3 or 4 books? You guys can't see it because it's in the shadow, but this is the entire Wheel of Time right here. And Sanderson,
he did the last couple,
the last 3. So Sanderson wrote the last 3 books, of the Wheel of Time.
Yep.
So he is author of the Wheel of Time, but he took inspiration from Jordan, and so everybody progresses. You know.
Yeah, I know it, man. And Brandon Sanderson, I love Brandon Sanderson. I love a lot of his books. The Stormlight Archive, especially like the first couple, really, really liked. I wish we could have more of a melding of like Brandon Sanderson in someone like George R. R. Martin, just a little bit, because Brandon Sanderson's output makes up for so many of his flaws. Because his output is amazing, and guys like George R. R. Martin write a book once every 10 years, and so many of these other big-time authors do as well. Brandon Sanderson pumps stuff out like a goddamn maniac, and I love him for it. It's awesome. But what I hate about him is that he refuses to do more human elements in his books. And if you read them, you'll know what I mean. That there are some things that are lacking in the books that would be in any other book about anything ever. And he just like totally ignores these very human things that we all do.
Like sex and cursing and he does have some aggressive, physically aggressive characters. Not many.
Not many.
Not many.
And so it really hurts the world in the long term because it just starts to, as it keeps going on, there are situations where these things seem inevitable and they never happen. And it just starts to feel weird. Like
it tends to feel YA. It just seems like even his adult fantasy feels YA.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You can only build up sexual tension for so long before it's like you can't just gently brush someone's hand book 4. Come on, man. Like they should be fucking at this point.
Yeah,
like
they should
get with the program.
They should be slamming.
You know what I mean? But whatever. He's I still love him because he writes some great books, and the output. Oh my god.
Yeah. So Augie, like Tyler and I are, it's a bit tongue in cheek. We like to make jokes. It's easier to make jokes when you pick things apart. That's just if we just were like, oh, that scene was great. Oh yeah, it was great.
I like that one too.
This scene was really good. Yeah, I agree. That scene was good. Right. It's just it's not interesting material, so we like to take the things that we dislike or we disagree with and run with those to make them fun. Again, is the show perfect? No, but I think as a non-book reader, you'll enjoy it more because you won't have super high expectations of how everything should work out. Our biggest criticism, wrapped up in a nutshell, is just that they have totally strayed from the books, like from the get-go. Like really from the get-go. They've changed so many fundamental things about the Wheel of Time in the books that it's already borderline unrecognizable. They're just going to have some of the same character names and some of the same locations, but like it's going to be definitely a big time adaptation. It is not going to be like what Game of Thrones was for the first 4 seasons.
Right. But I would say, at least for me, my criticisms do run a bit deeper. They definitely strayed from the books, which just kind of pisses me off and confuses me.
I just don't understand.
I don't understand.
If you and I were directors, we went to USC for 4 years, got our degrees, and we were like, we want to make the Wheel of Time into a story. Right. You can sure shit bet the scenes, the character descriptions, the dialogue is going to be as close to the books as we can possibly allow it to be. So
like that shit just confuses me. I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. But then there are definitely other things about it, which again, we joke and we'll tear down a bunch of stuff, all over the place. But there are definitely things that I'll tear down for for reasons, because I really think that, and it bugs me. And so there are these first 3 episodes that I've watched, I would just say I'm kind of meh on it. Right. So it hurts that I've read the books and I feel like they're straying. And so that takes it down a notch. But there are other things too I just haven't liked, but not enough to say I'm not going to watch the rest. It's enough to say, though, if I get to the end of the season and still feel this way, then I'm just kind of done with it. Right. But there's still time. Right. And again, like I said,
you're only through 3 episodes.
I'm only through 3 episodes. And there have been plenty of shows that I have watched, again, where I've had friends who are like, hey man, you got to get to this episode. You have to get here.
Yeah,
I'll kind of watch the first few and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I don't want to watch this. And then I'll get to what they're talking about and go, oh my God. And then it hooks me. And then I'm sold. And I watch all the seasons. So some shows you do just need to push through a little bit, and that sucks. You don't want that. Right. But that happens. Making shows is hard, right? I mean, that's difficult. And so it's not so bad that I wouldn't be giving it the benefit of the doubt and saying there's still something there. There's still, we know, is a good story there because of having read the books. I don't think the casting is terrible. I don't think the acting has been terrible. I think a lot of the cinematography has been good. Some of it has been a little haphazard in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Some of the CGI has been rough. Some of it's been good. So it's just kind of a mixed bag right now. But they could get their feet under them. It could be a good show. That remains to be seen. But if it stays like this for an entire season, then I'd say, they messed up. They fucked up. That's how I kind of felt like about The Witcher. Right? The Witcher had all the elements to be something good. Great casting, and they had a lot of good cinematography. They butchered it. Oh my God. They butchered the shit out.
I'm going to be honest. So The Witcher was coming out. It was going to be a show. Right? You and I both read, what was the first Witcher book?
Yeah, what was that first one called? It's more of a collection of stories.
Was it Blood of Elves or The Last Wish?
The Last Wish. The Last Wish was the first one.
We both read The Last Wish from The Witcher. And you're right. It's like a collection of short stories. And we heard that that's what they were going to basically do the first season on, which seemed weird.
Seems strange.
It seems strange, but I enjoyed them. And
yep.
And the book kind of bounces around between the stories, which is kind of awkward. But then, like you said, they cast what's his name, Henry Cavill as Geralt. He looks exactly like
I mean, the casting, you could not have asked for better casting for him.
Yeah, and he does the deep voice, which is slightly over the top, but it's
I didn't love the voice.
It's
but still
a little over the top, but still you can
could have taken it just fine. Yep.
But then, and I think I remember watching the first episode and being like, okay, I remember this story, and it was okay, and I was like, this is fine. Yeah, kind of almost like Wheel of Time, where I'm like, the cinematography, the special effects were a little cheesy, a little rough, but it was like, okay,
I'll give it a chance.
I'll give it a chance. And then after that, terrible. I mean, I watched the next few episodes and was like, this is trash. I don't get it. They're jumping all over the place. They're doing these random stories. How would a non-book reader have any idea what was happening in The Witcher? I read the first 2 books. You did too. I barely was like, what the fuck are they doing now? What scene are they doing now? What story are they doing now?
They didn't even make that clear to the viewer.
What point of time are they in now? How does anyone know what's happening?
You could have just had an opening thing, Geralt does such and such, such and such time of day, whatever, just to show that you're jumping around in time and you're at different places or what. There are a million things you could have done. They just kind of jumped into it episode by episode, you're just supposed to follow along. When you read The Last Witch, it's a collection of short stories, and that's even clear from the chapters and what you're doing, right? They just did that with the show, but didn't make that clear to any of the viewers and just acted like it was a normal episodic thing that just made no coherent sense. It was ludicrous. It was absolutely ludicrous. I can't believe that they would do that. And then on top of that, the way they portrayed some things was so terrible. So again, there's another one where the book was really interesting and it's an interesting character that they casted well and had potential, and they fucked miserably. This could be the same thing. Or they could take it and prove us all wrong and make this a really good show. We'll see. I don't know. I think it's easier to fail.
The jury's still out on that one, but not really. If this were a stock, I would be selling it.
Selling it? Exactly.
Sell. But yeah, I remember The Witcher. The break point for me was, I don't know how far you got into it, but where they found like the dragons and the dragon eggs in the one cavern, and the dragons looked like they were CGI'd from an off-network.
They didn't use real dragons?
Television from like 25 years ago. I mean, like, I can't even describe how ugly and bad the dragons were, that it was like, this has got to be a joke. Like Jurassic Park did dinosaurs better 25 years ago, 28 years ago. Well, for which are 26 or 7, but it's like in 1993, dinosaurs. And again, it was a movie. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's like they did dinosaurs better in 1993 than you can do a couple of scenes of a dragon in 2020. It's like, that's a joke.
I know. It's all because
you probably had a bigger budget than Jurassic Park did.
Well, this is the thing. And this is what I still don't understand either. Why did Jurassic Park look so good and still looks great for its time period? You watch and you're like, it still looks great. Why?
They still make dinosaurs look worse nowadays.
Because they use practical effects and then CG over top. I don't get why everyone doesn't continue to do that. Like, you don't have to do everything with CG.
Mechanical puppet type things, right?
Yeah. They had a gigantic...
And then they put small, slight little CGI motions on it to make it look more real.
Exactly. And so, like, when the T-Rex is, hitting on the glass and stuff, there was a real animatronic giant T-Rex head that was doing that, right? And then they would just put CG over the top to make its motions more smooth, make its skin seem a little more glossy, that kind of stuff. But so it looked terrific because they didn't just try to CG it from scratch where you just instantly recognize it as like, oh, that's just computer generated, unless you spend a shit ton of money. But it's like, if you're going to do that, just do the normal practical effects that you know will work that they did 20 years ago. I don't know, man. You know what, Justin? I don't understand.
Forget all of it. None of it makes any sense. Now I'm pissed. So, all right. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody.
All right,
thanks
episode
for
4 next. Let's do this.
Well, yeah, episode